Welcome, book nerds. We're back. Today, I want to talk about my reread of the Stormlight Archive, specifically my summary of the Words of Radiance. It's going to be a little bit longer video than my Way of Kings one. I wanted to kind of dive in a little deeper into what happened in this book because we really get going. Here we go. The prologue jumps off Yasna hiring an assassin to kill Elikar's wife because of the White Assassin. Okay, chapter 1, Shallan. You really see her powers really starting to come out in this book. We also see her bond with Yasna really becoming stronger. When we finally get to Kaladin, he is suffering from PTSD, depression, trust issues. He's not sure if he wants to trust Dalinar, and Dalinar has brought in all of Bridgefour into his group, and he just doesn't know what to do with himself. Though the rest of Bridgefour is fine with it. They're fine with their new posting and stuff, but Kaladin just doesn't know how he fits into his new life. So this is really Shallan's book way more than Kaladin's. Each of the Stormlight Archive books revolves around a certain character. Last one was Kaladin. This one is her book. So it revolves more around her. Here's where we get a first look at Pattern, Shallan's alter ego. And she really starts to light paint a lot more. Shallan draws Pattern to do the things that she's just not able to do. And we'll start to see that more and more as the book progresses. Shallan has her mental illness, her PTSD, if you will, from her time with her father and the death of her mother and all that. And this is really going to be a forefront of her story going forward. We get more visions with Dalinar from Stormfather, and it just starts hitting him more and more and more. It's really a part of his story. Okay, Kaladin starts to come around, and Shallan really starts to pull on her power more and more. Now it's this point where Dalinar decides to reform the Knights Radiant. And then Seth attacks Dalinar, and you get the great scene where Dalinar catches the sharp blades in his bare hands because he doesn't have a sharp blade at that point. And what a great scene. And you see Kaladin and Seth falling from the window, and they're just fighting each other on the way down and lashing each other back and forth. And it's such a great written scene. You could visualize it so well. Now we really start to get more world building in this book. Instead of the shattered plains, we get more of the rolling hills and the open sea. And we even see an island that ends up being the shell of a turtle who is migrating away. So you really get the whole world in this book. We dive into the heralds and honor and the desolations. Then Yasna is assassinated. And it's like, what? But of course, and we find out about Syl and why Syl is so important, and the Spren in general. We find more about Spren and Shadesmar, about where the Sprens are actually coming from. Why the relationship that Syl has with Kaladin is so important. We find out the connection to Stormfather and the Khanid realm, and you find out she's a princess and that she was bonded before, and lots of stuff. Shallan finds out who assassinated Yasna, and she goes after the group responsible for the attack. Shallan forms a living shard blade and goes after the leader of the group and kills him. We find out Moshe's involvement in the Ghost Bloods, and he tries to bring Kaladin in, and Kaladin has to make a choice of what direction he wants to actually go. We find out about how damaged Shallan is, and even though she's so damaged, she still wants to help people. No matter how bad she gets, she still has the desire to help. So Kaladin meets Moshe and the assassins. Shallan is researching the Oath Gates and Dawn Shard, light weaving, which her research ends up being crazy important by the end of the story. We dive deeper into Shallan's childhood, and by the end of the story, we get some amazing reveals about her origin. Adeline comes forward and finally starts making some really big moves, and Adeline sets up his big duel. The duel that will bring forward my favorite scene. The scene where Adeline is going against 4 opponents, and Kaladin has to save him. And Kaladin jumps in and helps Adeline defeat all these. But then at the end, they they like betray each other, and now they can't trust each other. It's just, like, so frustrating, man. And Adeline is getting closer to Shallan, and Kaladin doesn't know how to deal with it. He gets all jealous. There's like so many emotions like flying back and forth. So by the end of part 4, Kaladin is in a really dark place and still pulls away from him. She's going forward with her progression, and Kaladin is like sinking backwards. And he's losing his power because he's had to do things that take him away from being a Radiance. And so he's just like devastated in who he is. We find out Shallan's deepest, darkest secret, that she killed her mother in self-defense, and her father like covered up for her and protected her, which is something we've never heard about before because her father was always this abusive person. And then she's like dealing with the fact that he saved her and kept her safe, even at the same time like beating everyone around her. It's just like, so she's like torn back and forth about these memories of her, of killing her mother and her abusive father, but at the same time saving her. So more history comes forth with Taravangian and the evil Spren, the Amaran and Kaladin confrontation, Shallan and Navani working together. Kaladin tries to protect Alucard. Dalinar asks Stormfather for help, but he denies and says that he'll bring a high storm after the war and he'll sweep all the bodies away. That's the best he can do. Kaladin says the third ideal: protecting those you hate. At this point, there are hundreds of battles raging all over the place. Szeth shows up and tries to kill Dalinar again, and the Bridge Foremen are trying to defeat Szeth, and Szeth is just whooping their butt all over the place. That's when Syl goes to Stormfather and says, "I claim him. I bond to Kaladin." And she's finally back with Kaladin, and she is his honor blade. And Szeth is like defeating everybody, and Kaladin drops out of the sky with Stormlight and Syl as his blade, and they battle. And he defeats Szeth. Shallan activates the Oath Gate, and the storm envelops Szeth and carries him away. Shallan says her final truth. But then Szeth gets Nightblood. Let's destroy some evil. And Adeline kills Sadeas. Such a great moment. That guy is finally dead. Dalinar binds Stormfather as his spren. This is going to be such a big deal going forward. And in the perfect Brandon Sanderson fashion, the epilogue gives us the return of Jasnah. Yeah. Read fast.